But I feel like BCBAs like have this skill where, bad, need to shut it off, right? Like that's just a natural thing. And so like to say
natural, did we learn it?
Well, yeah, it's a learned behavior, right? But like some people are really good at that, right? And so that's their like go-to superpower. And so and they think, oh, well, I shut this off when I leave the session. You do not. Like this is with you all the time, everywhere. And so even on the business side, they're, oh, you have a problem, employee, or, oh, I need to shut it off. Or, you know what I mean? Like bad things are bad. They need to be ignored so that I can move on with my life. And so I think that there's that natural thing. And like it does bleed over into other parts of your life. And so this comes home with you. It's your business partner. It doesn't just stop when you leave the session that day.
Well, and when I started the course with Sarah, I was pretty sure she was going to teach me how to help everybody be happy so I could be comfortable. Right. And that really kind of I like hit like, I don't want rock bottom sounds too dramatic, but I like what I learned was really hard for me because it really shook the foundation of what I believed, right? I'm still learning. We're all still learning and growing. But that was what was really hard for me to then be able to step back into ABA and help consult and coach other, providers in this space and me feel like I'm showing up as my authentic self, right? Because of this thing, because then during this whole time, my child, I thought I was being calm. I thought I was being grounded. I thought I was being I thought I didn't realize it was the same behavior as my BC, my BC ABA, but my behavior analyst poker face. But I thought I had shifted and grown and changed. And I thought, oh, I was being more, holding space for my child. But all I did was shift my voice. And so then it came across to my child as creepy mommy voice. And like he's an amazing communicator. So he was able to like explain these things to me and it confused me so much. And I was like, but no, I'm here for you. And he's like, yeah, absolutely not. She's confusing. So that was one of my big, when you were saying that, and it was all connected to like, you're not just calling me out, but no. Like what your observation from that was also living with a behavior analyst who expected, like I was very uncomfortable with other people's feelings unless they're happy.
Like these are bad things. They need to be stopped, right? We have to put a plan in place to stop them, right? And like, so what you're saying is that only part of me can come, right? Only part of me can be here. And so that affects everyone when you're pushing, hey, I'm okay with you. Why can't you be okay with me? Do you know what I mean? And so I think that's a natural thing for most people, that there are parts of themselves that they don't want to show others for fear of being ostracized or whatever, right? But I think that is a superpower of behavior analysts.
And I may be going kind of off the rails a little bit, but I think that's part of it too, is like the compliance training. And, when I see goals with like kids will for a 2 or 3 year old that's talking about it will reduce tantruming to 0%. What?
I had a temper tantrum on the phone 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So like that.
And the compliance, right? Like and that leads into the expectation of, oh, you need to be perfect. We need you, little human.
Yes. And we're going to measure everything. Yes.
Yeah. So sorry, Sarah, we're totally derailing here, but
no, this is all totally legit. And it's so relatable because you're absolutely right. We have focused so much on compliance that we really have taken the humanity out of it. And so much of the healing begins with the inner work that we need to do around accepting the fact that we don't need to be happy all the time, much less anybody else in our presence. In fact, I will join you off the rails. I don't know where we're going, April, but let me join you for a second.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to practice this with my own child the other day. I was having, just a phenomenally rough day. And at the end of the day, and I was putting her to bed, and she said, Mama, you seem really stressed. Are you okay? And my former self wanted to speak up and say, oh, yes, I'm totally fine. Let's focus on bedtime, sweet dreams, all is well. Like, let's just, put a nice little bow on this and be happy. But I thought I am doing her a disservice if I do that, because she's already read the room that is me, and she's called me out and saying, you don't seem okay. So in that moment, I went in a totally uncomfortable place because I too operate from prior narratives, but I was able to say in that moment, thank you so much for noticing that, sweetheart. You're right. I am feeling really stressed. But I didn't just leave it there. That might have already been cycle breaking. It might have already been helpful because I was validating that what she saw was true. But I decided in that moment, because I have been very intentional about learning some of these new tools, to say if I want to raise a child who has a healthier narrative around her own emotional expression and authenticity, I also can't leave it at, you're right, you noticed the correct thing. If I want to raise someone who is resilient and model and grow my own resilience, I have to tell her what I'm doing about it, which then very briefly turned into, thank you so much for noticing that. You're right. I am feeling a lot of stress. I want you to know that you are not responsible for fixing my stress. I love you and I am so grateful for you and that we can talk about things openly. And I promise you this, if my stress gets to be too much for me, I will seek support. And that was enough to actually see her shoulders soften, lower, and she was like, good, Mama's taken care of herself. But that was such a different dialogue than what many of us grew up with and what I would have said up until not that long ago. But we really do have to be able to name it and show here's what we're doing about it. We can't just leave it as, yep, it's messy. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, I can see that in our own son too, right? Like he can just read it. He just, come on, you're BSing me, right? And then what happens is that he goes into fix it mode. And
well, I mean, like, I want to be very cautious not to call out his, keep his privacy, but he does have like, I guess it's safe to say honey badger. Like it's been around for years and it's like his protector. And so in our family, we understand honey badger. And so when we see little parts of honey badger poking out, I think we have learned to step back and evaluate.
Yeah, it's totally us.
Where we are.
Yeah, most of the time. Most of the time.
He's starting to read the room and he's going, something's
not right. Yeah.
And then, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of this really comes from a place, too, that you just named. We do need to be able to regulate our own nervous system in that moment enough to notice the reactions around us, notice that we all have something called mirror neurons, right? Emotions are literally contagious. Knowing that if we fake it, it's just extra confusing for the person around us and for our own nervous system for that matter. But knowing that emotions are contagious, I get to be curious about what am I feeling right now and what can I do to create some safety in my body right in this moment? Because if I don't start there, it doesn't really matter what comes out of my mouth. So I don't know, would now be a good time to talk about just even a few super actionable in the moment things that people can do to sort of ground their bodies and then move forward more authentically?
Yeah, I mean, you totally read my mind, I think. Yes, because it also keeping in mind, right, just as a lot of parents, I mean, we do have a few parents that listen to this podcast, but just as a parent in the moment, sometimes we are, the pasta's boiling and we have multiple kids with multiple needs and the dog's barking. And so sometimes it's not like we can completely step away into a separate bedroom and take 30 minutes to ourselves. Same thing with like teachers and technicians and clinicians. I mean, sometimes you're in the middle of a really tough moment when you're recognizing, I need something.
Dude, you might be getting kicked a bit, hit, right?
Yeah.
Like they're
yeah. So keeping that in mind, and which I'm sure you are, of like those little quick, I mean, things that the practical tips that we can actually do, because I think sometimes we do think to the other extreme of, oh, I need calm. What does calm look like? I need a bubble bath, or I need 2 hours to check out and watch Netflix or something, right? Who has that time to do that? And is that really helpful? So yes.